Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because you know schools aren't, so let's get started. So guys, welcome back to the weekly recap of investing in the stock market. If you are new, what we do is just look at the previous week, see what the stock market did. We go over some big news stories that came out, and we look at some mutual funds, some stocks later on. So let's get into it. And hopefully you had a very good week, guys. The market had a pretty good week, I gotta say, with the Dow Jones. Let's start it off there. They did go up a little bit over 0.6%. So something big did happen this week, guys, and it wasn't a good thing. Hurricane Harvey did hit the Texas area, not just Texas. I understand other states got slammed as well. But if you're from there or know anyone from there, of course, we're hoping for the best for them. A lot of water freaking fell from the sky, guys. Winds and crazy stuff. So hopefully those guys are doing well, hoping the best for their recovery. That happened earlier in the week, and that actually hit the energy industry a little bit, just because, you know, hurricanes could destroy some energy plants and stuff like that. But it actually helped the healthcare industry as well. I mean, it wasn't drastic moves, but we did see moves in the healthcare. It did go up since, you know, obviously people need care. This is actually an example showing you guys that weather or storms or, you know, something that might not even be business related can affect the market. And this kind of caught me off guard. I understand that, yeah, it could destroy businesses. But I guess I just wasn't thinking about it. But they did get hit. Some sectors dropped, some sectors did a little bit better. But overall, it's not a good thing for it to happen, obviously. So let's move a little bit more into positivity here. Warren Buffett, his birthday was actually this week. Middle of the week, he is 87. The CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, billionaire. But he is reassuring. He did recently purchase a huge amount in Apple. He is reassuring his belief in Apple, and especially right now, well, with the weeks coming up, Apple is announcing, you know, new things that they're coming out with, especially the new iPhone. We'll be going into the Apple stock in a little bit throughout the video, but they are up. For the past couple weeks, they have been increasing, probably just because of the good news they're probably going to release with all this technology coming out. And let's look at some political news. Of course, with Donald Trump, he is trying to talk about the tax reforms in this country. Now, whether we agree with this or not, it could happen, it could not. You know, we'll see what really happens. But you really can't deny the fact that if there are lower tax rates, obviously businesses are going to be paying less in taxes. So that's a good thing for them, whether we believe in that or not. That is true. And since it was the first of the month on Friday, guys, the first Friday of every single month, some numbers come out on jobs, like how the job market is doing in America. If you're new to the market, this is what they do. So the job market, it actually went down slightly. It wasn't significant, but it did go down. But however, there was an increase in the market, which was with automobiles. I'll put a chart up for Ford Motors. Of course, they're a huge automobile maker in America, but you could see they jumped very well with their numbers, and other automobile companies as well. So let's start getting into some charts, guys, starting out with, boom, our index fund, our S&P 500. Of course, the 500 of the largest companies in America. And they are up, for this week, they are up over 1.1%. So they did end up closing at $247.81. You could see on the top left-ish side. But a little bit lower, you could see when we first started to look into these funds and stocks, if we would have purchased in 4 weeks ago, we are finally in the green a little bit. We are up 0.16%. So you could see a little bit early on in the week, of course, that was when the storm hit. That was the worst of it, and the stock market did dip a little bit. But since then, it has been rising again. Some people saying it's rebounding. I remember seeing a news article, I think it was Forbes. It's like, oh, the correction is over. Guys, there wasn't a correction. Like, it has been down a little bit, but like a correction, we're talking like 5-10%. Like, I think the market's down only a few percent. But it is rebounding a little bit. And of course, even if, when you look in the middle of the week, it is shooting back up, especially with Apple. We'll be getting into that in a minute. And looking at our small caps, they actually did better than just the 500 index because they are risky. Again, they could drop much quicker, but also rise just as quick as well. They are up 1.9%. Or in the area. Now again, this is more of an experimental type of viewings just to see how small caps compare to the regular market. But they did close at 52.90. They closed up on Friday, 0.61%. A little bit lower down, you could see that we are still in the red. After 4 weeks, we are down 0.47%. So that's the basic overall market valuation that we have so far. So let's start getting into the individual stocks that we are looking at. So the first one, of course, is Apple. They got a bunch of stuff coming out. And right now, this week, Apple has been killing it recently. They are actually up just this week is 2.15%. Going over to our chart, they closed at $164.05, just only slightly in the green on the close of Friday. But since we got in, we are just pushing the 5% return, guys. In 4 weeks, we almost got 5% on Apple. It's doing very, very well. So again, with Apple, they are announcing a bunch of things coming out. Of course, the new iPhone coming out. So everyone is really watching Apple, and it is a huge thing just because Apple is so large. They are the largest company like in the world. So if you have any type of mutual fund, they probably have Apple as one of their largest holdings, if not the largest holdings. Like with our 500 index fund, it's probably the first holdings that the fund has. So if Apple goes up, most likely the market's going to go up. And whatever they do, that's what the market's going to do. Quick side note with Apple, Fitbit, you know, those little watch things that calculate, I don't know, how fast you're breathing and how many times you blink or something. But Fitbit is announcing that they are coming out with a smartwatch that could actually compete with the Apple Watch, the Apple smartwatch that Apple has. So that's pretty interesting. It might take a little bit away from Apple, but it might be a trendy thing. So it's just an interesting news article that I happen to see. All right, so we could really talk about Apple all day, but let's move on to Disney. Disney stock, of course, everyone knows who Disney is. They're still getting slammed, guys. Down this week again. They are down over 1%. Now, looking over at our chart that we have of Disney, they closed at $101.50 on Friday. We are down. Man, gotta say, Disney has been down since we got in 4 weeks ago. They are down 5.75%. You can see that chart. They peaked in May of just hitting, or maybe just under, the $116 mark. And now they're at 101 area. So they are getting slammed. Again, I do like Disney. This could be a buying opportunity. No one really knows, of course. But a lot of people, again, looking at the ESPN numbers, they do own them. Those numbers are declining. Again, Star Wars is coming out. So there's like a bunch of things going on. Actually, I just remembered, They are down fairly significant this week because I believe they are firing or laying off some people from their ABC News or ABC part of their company. They're laying people off. Now that could be seen as a bad thing because obviously if they're laying people off, then it might not be growing. However, if those people aren't working there anymore, you don't have to pay them anymore. So it really depends how you look at it. We just got to keep watching what Disney does. So now let's move on to Facebook. We're not checking our statuses, we're checking their stock. Haha, no? Okay, anyway, their stock has not crazily shot up, but they went up very, very nicely actually. This week, they went up over 3.3%. Look at how these guys think who they are. Jeez, they closed at $172.02. Fairly flat on Friday. But since we got in 4 weeks ago, we are up 1.4%. Again, guys, Facebook is one of those volatile stocks. It could go up very fast or down very fast. Their growth is really phenomenal. Now, of course, it's not going to have the growth that it used to. You know, everyone's already in Facebook and doing their thing. Their growth is still there. But they're doing very well, I gotta say. Now, the NASDAQ in general did very well this week, actually. The NASDAQ is a bunch of tech stocks, basically, like we just saw with Facebook. Next one, we're getting into Google. They did just as well, a little bit less, but still very well. Google went up 2.6% this week. Moving on to our chart, you can see that they closed at $937.34. They were down a little bit, 0.21% on Friday, but we are up with Apple just over 1% since we got in 4 weeks ago. You could see the chart, guys, especially since this is a tech giant. They could be all over the place. I mean, since they are so large, it's fairly stable, but you could still see the ups and downs and kind of all over the place they are, but we are still up so far. And the next one we're looking at is Starbucks. Starbucks is doing some interesting stuff, guys. You remember a few weeks ago they just tanked from earnings and stuff. Then they're kind of rebounding now, so it could have been a buying opportunity. We'll have to see. But they are up 0.9% or around 0.9% this week. And unfortunately for us so far, since we started looking at them, we are still a little bit down, but they did close at 54.93. Again, still slightly up on Friday. But we are down around 0.9% still. But you could see on the chart on the right side, again, it peaked around June. But they did, I don't want to say bottom out because it could go lower, you never know. But the lowest point so far was few weeks ago, middle of August, and since then it is rebounding kind of nicely, so that's why we got to keep watching it. And let's finish off with the mutual fund that I like to watch just because I hold them. I think they're pretty cool, which is Fidelity Contra Fund. This week they have been doing very well, again, just because they are holding a lot of companies that we're looking at as well. They are up 1.8%. Looking over here, they closed around $120.20. Fairly flat on Friday, but we are up just over 1%. So those are all the funds and stocks that we're looking at, guys. But we will be looking at, of course, in the weeks to come, we're going to be keeping a close eye on Apple just because they're so large. We're going to see what's coming out, the new iPhone, how people are going to react to it. And if they go up, the market's going to go up, basically, just because they're ginormous. And we'll have to see. Of course, I'm a firm believer if you want to go into mutual funds, especially for the long term, just keep investing monthly, guys. You'll get in some peaks, getting some valleys, but overall you'll have an upward trend or momentum. So that's what I'd suggest. Now, I personally wouldn't suggest, of course, I'm not a professional or anything, but I'm not getting in heavily in anything right now. Again, I just actually saw something on the news. North Korea might be acting up again a little bit, so anything could happen with that. But we'll have to see, right? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. I like to see what you guys have to say. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because no one is, guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week with another video on weekly recap review of stock market. See you then.